Welcome to the second online event of a webinar of online technical workshop series for eParent project. As I also informed you earlier, this is the second one. And the first one, we were unpacking the issues around engaged fatherhood. And now we're diving a bit more deeper in engaging fathers in nurturing care in the context of issues around leave, policies, and uptake. Okay. I would like to walk you through what are we going to do today very quickly. After the welcome and introduction, we will go over the VLB directive shortly. We'll talk about impact and implications. Attila kindly will go over this issue, and then we will go on with a comparative table of existing leave policies for fathers in the 5 countries. It will give us some direction for discussion, and then we will move on to the roundtable where we will go by country, and in that session we will have time to learn about strengths and outstanding issues over the policies given in the given countries, and we will talk about available data of uptake in leave and paternity and paternal by fathers, and we will have a discussion Q&A session. We are aiming to have like a mini 5-minute break because we are having a long session today. And then we will move on to the breakout rooms where we will go in depth and we will explain the different issues we want to discuss in the breakout rooms. And I will explain some technicalities when we reach there. And we will report back to the plenary and we will provide a summary of discussions with a speaker from the group. And we will conclude with the next steps. So, not to take too long, this workshop is organized also under a MING project, where for eParent project is a co-funding project. In a MING project, we want to create our main goal is to create a society where men and women are equally treated, respected, and appreciated as parents, and the work is equally valued, distributed, and recognized in formal contexts. So we have like 3 main objectives, and we are working on at the EU level and country level and the city level. And what's important is like this in this workshop we're focusing on leave policies, but as you can see from the countries, these are the main scope of the project: Italy, Spain, and Portugal. But we know that in Sweden and Poland and in Norway there has been inspiring practices where the other countries can create some learning, and there have been some developments considering the parental leave policies. So I don't want to take too much time. I would like to give the floor to Giorgio to introduce the scope of our eParent project very quickly. Please, Giorgio, go ahead.
Hello, good morning. Let me join you, Aisha, in a warm welcome to all of you. I'm Giorgio Tamburlini. I'm a pediatrician and public health expert, president of the CSB, which is co-organizing this workshop together with ISA. And I'm leading the work package 3 of the 4 eParent project, which has been already introduced. The goal of this project, with the 4 E's standing for early, equal, engaged, and empathetic, is to promote engaged fatherhood and caring masculinities, primarily to promote child health and development, gender equality, but also as a means to prevent gender-based violence. There are 3 main work packages in this project. One is focusing on capacity building for all professionals involved in providing services for young children and their caregivers. The second is about communication and knowledge sharing, with also a focus on social media. And the third is the one which is focusing on advocacy for policy change, both in Italy and the EU. And this is the one which we are leading, and this is the one within this is this workshop. And I will now give the floor, according to the agenda, to Attila Böhm from the Confederation of Family Organization in the European Union. who have conducted a very valuable assessment of how the EU Work-Life Balance Directive is being transposed in different countries. She will be talking briefly about the impact and the implication of the directive and the prospects for moving beyond. So, Attila, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Can we start soon? Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for also the assistance with the presentation. So yes, I'm going to talk about the EU Work-Life Balance Directive, impacts and implications also for the present and also for the future perspectives. Can I get the first slide, please? Thank you. Yeah, just before I start, just a few words about my organization, Confess Families Europe. So this is a pluralistic NGO with 58 organizations in 23 EU member states. Our values including non-discrimination, human rights, social inclusions, among others. And we represent and advocate for rights and interests of all types of families without discrimination. And we monitor EU initiatives to build the capacity of the COFASE network. Our main areas in terms of social policies, including education, migration, disability, digitalization, services, and of course the work-life balance policies, which I'm going to talk about now. Next slide, please. Yes, yes, and the EU Work-Life Balance Directive is basically one of the core activities, the core of our work, because it since being a directive, this is a hard law, so it's binding member states to transpose this to their national legislative system. So this will able to make a change in terms of family policies. So the EU Work-Life Balance Directive was adopted on the 24th of January 2019, and this is the first legislative initiative that follows the launch of the European Pillar of Social Rights. And yeah, as you figure out by the name, this facilitates the reconciliation of work and family life for workers who are parents or carers. And it covers the aspects of time, as it provides minimum standards on family leaves and flexible working arrangements. Also services, so the adequate payment for certain leaves, and it paves the way for future action on access to services like early childhood education and care and long-term care. And member states had the 2nd of August 2022 to transpose the directive into their national legal system. Next, please. Yeah, just to highlight a few elements of the directive, the most important ones. So the directive provides individual rights related to the following: family leaves, paternity leave. In terms of paternity leave, there is an individual right to 10 working days for fathers or equivalent second parents, irrespective of the worker's qualification, length of service, and marital status. Parental leave is 4 months for each parent as an individual right, and 2 months of this leave is not transferable, and there's a flexibility in take up. Carers leave is 5 working days. It is unpaid though, and it provides flexible working arrangements as well for workers with children. And in this way, it also promotes equality between women and men, and also addresses family diversity in paternity leave, since it mentions the equivalent second parent in this context. And most important, also very important that it provides adequate payments for of paternity, parental, and parental leave, and also carers leave. Yes, and COFASE, since this is very the directive is really crucial for our work, we also decided to assess the transposition of the directive, and we published the report based on our findings. So this is a report called a mixed, like the EU Work-Life Balance Directive, a mixed picture from non-compliance and basic minimum standards to ambitious reforms for modern gender-responsive family policies. So this report focused on 10 member states: Belgium, Germany, Spain, Finland, France, Hungary, Croatia, Italy, Lithuania, and Poland. And we assess the transposition of these member states with the help of our member organizations. And this transposition assessment focused on paternity leave, parental leave, and carers leave. And we published this report in October 2022. And just to highlight a few findings, as you could also see from the title that it's a mixed picture. So yeah, results were really varied. Like some member states really went beyond the directive standards. For example, Spain with paternity leave is very generous, 16 weeks. But for some member states, for instance, France, Belgium, Italy, parental leave was low paid. For example, it was insufficient, inadequate payment, but also non-transferability were provided in other member states. And also the majority of the member states provided the opportunity to take up parental leave in a part-time, short-time, piecemeal way. So they provided a flexible take-up, which was good. And also the family diversity was addressed in terms of paternity leave. For equivalent second parent, meaning that same-sex couples, adoptive parents, single parents were eligible to the leave, but this was not the case in every member state. So there's still room for improvement. Yes, to highlight a few challenges and priorities. So yeah, first things first, what we need is the full transposition of the directive, because this is not the case today. And we also advocate that to member states to go beyond the directive standards, because it's not enough just to meet the basic requirements, but to make a change, we really need transformative systems, transformative gender responsive reforms to focus both on mothers and fathers. And it's also very important to provide adequate payment to ensure the take-up of these leaves, as I mentioned at parental leave as well, to make this leave attractive for parents to use them. And also to ensure family diversity, meaning the eligibility of same-sex couples, adoptive parents, single parents, just to name a few. And the impact on children should be taken into consideration, since if we have parents, you also have the children. And also the non-transferability of the leaves should be, it's also important they should be considered, since it's really enhances gender equality and combating stereotypes when mothers are the caregivers and men are the breadwinners. And an intergenerational approach should be taken, especially when it comes to carers leave, that all generations must be considered from children to elderly. And also to mention the accessibility for all workers, including self-employed, because, for example, in the directive, they are not mentioned. This is for member states to improve this gap. And just some words about the future implications. What we know that there is an infringement procedures going against 11 member states who failed to transpose the directive by the deadline, and also they were not. They didn't manage to provide like a satisfactory answers in the first round of exchanges with the Commission. Unfortunately, like the details of these infringement procedures are not public, so we don't know much. but this is definitely the most effective way to enforce transposition. And of course, civil society, trade unions, and I'm sure many of you also monitors the transposition of the directive, which is also very important to know the state of play. And we also published a report based on our findings in terms of the transposition, but also, for example, the Commission's legal network also published a report on the directive transposition last year. So I think it's these reports and assessments are also important to be aware of the state of play of transposition. And just to mention that DG Just of the European Commission, they also started a campaign on challenging gender stereotypes. So these actions are also important. They can also make a change. And obviously, like these kind of projects you run is also very important, and these discussions are also, I think, crucial to exchange good practices and experience what we learned, and yeah, also to learn from each other. So thank you very much for your attention, and yeah, if you have questions, let me know. You can also contact me or Kofase. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this introduction, Attila. And we will go in depth in the breakout rooms. We will have time to discuss. And I would like to introduce now Anila Limuk from CSB as a work package leader under for eParent. And she's going to give us an overview of across countries of the policies, the stock take of the policies. And one moment of yours to share the screen. Can you see me? Is it visible? Yeah, let's see.
Aisha, can you show it later, please?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But otherwise, we start looking at that, and I need to.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Take
yes,
it down.
indeed.
Okay,
of course,
right.
Yes.
So otherwise,
the floor is yours.
You can do one thing at a time. Attila, thank you for that very much. It means that there's an awful lot of work to be done still. I mean, it was quite diminutive, the actual directive, and even that was not fully implemented. So still a lot of work to do, and your assessment was so valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I'm from the coordination team for eParent, and I work with Giorgio's group from the GSB. I'm sorry, my voice will be disappearing every now and then because I have a bad cold. Legal provisions and the definitions and the uptake of leave, they vary very considerably across countries, which, as you all know, makes cross-country comparisons extremely difficult. I must say that the comparative tables that are contained in the leave review from 2022 makes a huge effort and has made a major achievement in actually putting the data together and making them in some way comparable, despite all those differences. Now, we thought that as an introduction to the round table, where different speakers will be talking about the situation in their respective countries, it would be useful to have an infographic containing that puts together the information on the short leave that is taken after birth, which is generally, but not always, called paternity leave, and the months that are reserved for fathers in parental leave. Because if we don't look at those two together, we don't get an overall sense of how much time fathers have. Sorry, this is getting bad. So what we look at is in the parental leave, though, we're only considering parental leave that is reserved for fathers, but is also well paid. and we use the standard of plus 66%, because research is telling us that when leave is below that level, fathers tend not to take it. So we're using, for this table, we've used information from the Leave Policies report, and I did some fact checking with some of you. And this provides a picture of what's available to fathers overall. Maybe some of the info is not 100% right, but we can correct that. But we think it's useful because it tells us what the real differences are between how much leave fathers have. Aicha, can you pull up the graph? Okay. Now what we have here is in green, we have the short paternity leave, generally well paid, even 100% around birth. In the second column, the orange, we have the months of parental leave, or any case, the leave that's taken after the initial period, and the leave reserved for fathers that is well paid. And the pink is the total. So what we're seeing, that the situation for Italy is quite bad, because fathers really only have the 10 days, which is equivalent 10 working days, so it's equivalent to 2 weeks. Because Italy does have parental leave, we have 10 or 11 months, according to whether fathers take their share, and 4 months are reserved for fathers, but they're only paid 30%. Norway, on the other hand, has the 2 initial months, and then 20 months of well-paid parental leave. So that brings us to a total of 22, which is pretty generous. It's similar to Sweden, that has 90 days for fathers. Poland has done a big step forward, and we're delighted to have Carolina with us. That was a major achievement, because it happened under a government that was not actually very supportive. So we have 2 weeks of paternity leave and 9 weeks, which are of parental leave reserved for fathers. Now, some of this is well paid, and some is paid, the rest is paid 60%, but that's still not bad. Portugal has an interesting situation, because they have 5 weeks reserved for fathers, of which 3 are mandatory. And by the way, some countries define some of their leave as mandatory, and we'll be discussing that. However, in Portugal, the parental leave, which is generous, is all transferable. So parents can decide individually how to share. So much depends on the motivation of fathers, and relations within the couple in terms of who takes that leave. Portugal has a generous bonus, in the sense that when leave is shared, there's a 30-day bonus. Now, this bonus system is being used in different countries, and we need to discuss whether these bonuses actually work to increase uptake. Spain finally has jumped ahead in terms of equal leave, and has 16 weeks for each parent. And for the fathers, 6 weeks of this are mandatory. And they need to be taken, the 16 weeks need to be taken within the first year. There's parental leave after that, but it's not paid, but different regional governments may chip in and pay. Now, you can take that off or leave it. You can leave it, Aicha. Now, this infographic actually reminds us of a number of issues that we'll be looking at in the breakout groups. One is compensation. Now, the review that was done by Aero found before the directive, in preparation of the directive, found that for fathers to take leave, it needed to be around not less than 80%. So we'll discuss how important is that compensation for fathers to actually take leave. Then I mentioned the bonus system. So how is this bonus system working? Several countries have incentives saying that if parents share equally, they get more days. Is this system working? The other thing is when the leave is taken. Countries have a tendency to concentrate the well-paid leave around birth, but it's a varying length. So Portugal has 5 weeks, Spain has 6 weeks, others have 2 weeks. So we'll be discussing what is best. Is it a good idea to concentrate more leave at the beginning? How important is that? It's something to be discussed. Another issue is variations on whether parents can take leave at the same time or not. Some countries leave it completely free. Other countries limit the number of time, and sometimes quite severely, saying can't share more than 15 days. So what do we think about that? And the other thing is this definition of mandatory leave. We have this in Italy as well, but it doesn't really mean much. And we have a situation where parents don't take all the leave. So when we say mandatory, what does this imply? Do we have inspectors going around seeing whether fathers are taking leave? Are there any sanctions? So these are some of the issues we'd like to take up in the breakout groups. Now, if my voice will support me, I just want to introduce Maddalena, Maddalena is a researcher from the University Normale of Pisa. She's been working on paternity issues for a long, shared care issues for a long time. She recently published a book on the topic, and she's been associated with the 2 subsequent parent projects, and she's an important member of our team. Off you go, Maddalena. Let me take a drink of water.
Thank you very much, Nina, for your introduction, and a special thanks to Aisha for organizing all this meeting, and thank you for your effort. So I'm very happy to be here and to share this virtual table with some esteemed colleagues from 5 countries, but we also have in the audience other colleagues from Sweden and the Netherlands. So please feel free to share your experiences maybe in the Q&A session, because I think it's very important to have this broadened view on the issue of national policies on leaves. We talk about leaves in general because, as we saw briefly, we have different schemes of leaves. We have a paternity leave, sometimes just parental leave, and so it will be very interesting to see the differences among European countries. So this roundtable is organized into rounds. The first one is dedicated to strengths and outstanding issues over the policies, and each of the presenters will have 5 minutes. And then we will have a second round about the availability of data on uptake of leave by fathers especially, and other 5 minutes for each country. So I will leave the floor to the first presenter, who is Tindara Dabbo from the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia. She is full professor of economic policy. She is also the Rector's Equal Opportunities Delegate and President of the Italian Universities Equal Opportunities Bodies National Conference. Her main research areas concern employment and wage discrimination by gender, well-being, gender budgeting and policies evaluation, gender gap in education, quality of work, work-related stress, and certification of firms in terms of gender equity and work-life balance. She's also coordinator of the project Leading Towards Sustainable Gender Equality Plans in Research Institutions, let's JEP, within the Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Framework. So welcome, Tindara. I'll leave you the floor to you. Thank you very much.
Thank to you, thank to all the organization that allows us such an interesting meeting, and I really would like to point out in these 5 minutes what already, in my opinion, has emerged from the interesting analysis that have been before the roundtable. So basically, I would like to give you some more data about what is the situation in Italy and why, in my opinion, it is so urgent that paternity leaves are the very implementation of the directive should go further in order to really do something against the very big inequalities that characterize our country. So basically, the data are well known that still the gender gap in employment at the disadvantage of women is around 20 percentage point that runs from like 14% in center north of Italy to even, for instance, in one region of the south of Italy, around 30 percentage point. And it is about basically 24 percentage point in the south of Italy. But what is also important to stress is that especially when children are there, this gap becomes even larger. And there is still a substantial gender gap in wages that probably, when we look at the gross gender gap in wages that usually it is shown by Eurostat data, seems not to be there, seems to be like 5%. Instead, if we do a correct econometric analysis of what it is, the gender gap, it is at least around 18%, 20%. So that means that when it comes to the choice whether to stay into the labor market or to leave it, or even to access, that is the point also for Italy, to access to the labor market, the gender differences in the opportunity to take leaves really comes into play, together with the gender gap in wages. And to the fact that we can observe one of the highest inequalities in the very distribution of time between within the couple. So basically, still now we can see that around taking together paid and unpaid work, women tend to work 1 hour more than men, and this is considered both people doing paid work and people who are not entering the labor market. And these differences is less, but around at least 1 hour for care work, if you consider a couple that are working together. So that is still a big difference, even if a young couple can share more of the care work, still the burden of care and the responsibility of care is on the shoulder of women. So what we can see is that still we have 10 paternity leaves, but I would paternity days for leaves for fathers. But I would like to stress one point. Already the inequalities between the paternity and paternity leaves has been tackled by other people before me. But I would like to stress that differently from maternity leaves, the paternity leaves really are, there is a, where if in maternity leave there is an effective prohibition to work during maternity leave, when it comes to the only 10 days as compared to the 5 months for women, the paternity leave is a potestative right that can be waived. Nowadays, it is possible to have a sanction for the firm that is not really taking the what the father is asking, that it is in the law, but maybe it is better to stress that that means that the father should ask for, and firms are sanctioned only if they are checked by the inspectorate that they did not allow for something that it is a right. And most importantly than the money sanction that is now at work is the fact that if they are caught as not allowing father to take the leave, they can be denied gender equality certification that is now spreading in Italy, and that can have a much more higher cost if they are considered as part of gender procurement in public bids. So that is the situation currently in Italy. And I would say that definitely much more must be done in terms also of the coverage of earnings for parental leaves that are basically paid, as you were saying before, around 30% of on average of previous earnings. So the situation is such that if we don't really do more in terms of both coverage of the different type of workers in Italy, more about paternity leaves, both in duration and in the really possibility to have it enforced, then we risk to still have lots of gender inequalities. That is also can be seen when we look at data of women leaving their job after maternity. There is a very big percentage, more than 40% of women saying that they do so because of the inexistence in their firm of work-life balance, against 3% of men. So that is really something that allows us to say that if we could do more about parental leave and paternity leave, then it is really essential to increase also the gender distribution of unpaid work within the couple, and to really get more forward a gender equality that is now not there in our country.
Thank you very much, Tindara. Thanks to give us this picture, not really yeah, not really encouraging about our country. Okay, I will leave the floor to Gerardo Meil.
Maddalena? And I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I just jump in to make it? We would have we might have a check on the time a little bit, and then when our speakers are speaking, no, we didn't want to cut, but I might go say like 1 minute, 2 minutes left, and then we can have a look on the time just in case we can finish on time. Sorry to interrupt. Please go on.
Thank you. Gerardo Meil is professor in sociology at the Autonomous University of Madrid. He is co-coordinator of the International Network on Leave Policies and Research, and work group leader of the Cost Action Parental Leave Policy and Sustainability. His main research activity and publication include topics related with the family policy, family life, and family change. And he actually coordinates the research project QUIDAN on family dynamics and work-life balance strategies of parents with young children living in Spain. So thank you, Gerardo. I will leave you the floor for 5 minutes to illustrate the situation in Spain. Thanks. I can't hear you.
We cannot hear you, unfortunately.
But I see he is unmuted, so I think that we have some issues.
Yes, he seems to have the microphone open, but
yeah.
We could maybe write in the chat and go for the next speaker while he tries to solve the problem.
Let's give some time to Gerardo, and let's continue in the meantime.
Yeah. Okay. So I will skip to Carla Tavares from Portugal. She's president of the Commission for Equality in Labor and Employment site since January 2020. She holds a degree in law from the Faculty of Law of the University of Coimbra, and she's currently attending the PhD in Gender Studies from Nova School of Law. She's lawyer by profession and practices from September 2002 until January 2020, when she assumed the functions of president of site, the commission I was talking about before. She was the deputy to the Assembly of the Republic between November 2015 and October 2019. As deputy, she was an effective member of the European Affairs Committee, and having been a permanent rapporteur for Brexit, and an effective member of the Labour and Social Security Committee, integrated the working groups Parenthood and Gender Equality, and also the working group for the amendment to the legal regime of professional dancers, of which she was a coordinator, and also the working group for the creation of the Informal Caregiver Statute. She was also an alternate member of the Committee on Constitutional Affairs, Rights, Freedoms, and Guarantees. Thank you, Carla, for being with us. I'll leave you the floor to you.
Are you listening me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, yes.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Good morning for everybody. First, I would like to thank you for the invitation to participate in this panel, as well for the opportunity to show some highlights of what we have been doing in Portugal in order to engaging fathers in children care. I will ask you for some patience because my English is not very fluent, but I will try to do my best and I hope you can understand me. I will also ask you sorry because I just will stay for the first round because we are in Açores. We are doing some training with Crete, is like SIT, but in Açores. So I have to leave to join to my team in this training. Is okay for you? There is no problem? Yes. So I would like to begin by introducing you the body I share, the Commission for Equality in Labor and Employment, because it is important to understand the role of their intervention in reducing wage inequalities and also in reduce the difference between men and women in work and in childcare. So SIT was created in 1979 and is the national mechanism for gender equality in labor and employment. The mission of SIT is to pursue equality and non-discrimination between men and women in labor, employment, and vocational training. Also collaborate in the implementation of legal provisions and conventions in this field, as well as those concerning the protection of parenthood and work-life balance in the private, public, and cooperative sectors. So what SIT does, promote social dialogue, promote studies, research, and projects, and provide legal services and information. SIT also receive complaints and issue legal opinions concerning equality and non-discrimination in labor and employment, monitoring victims of discrimination based on sex at work, and does mediation of small conflicts. So now I would like to share with this data, which show us how Portugal compares with the European average in terms of women's participation in the labor market in the age group between 20 and 64 years. As you can see, the participation rate of women in the labor market in Portugal is higher than the European average. I would say even quite superior. And I should also be noted that part-time work is not significant in Portugal. And actually, in a country with still very low wages, working part-time is not an option. However, this strong presence of women in the labor market, practically equal to that of men, has led to the option of measures to protect motherhood and encourage a more caring fatherhood. So especially after 2009, there was a change in the legal paradigm in the labor code, which started to have three essential pillars. I will talk a little about what we have been doing since 2009 and about what we have changed with the transposition of the Conciliation Directive. I will, because the time is not so, I will take the next I'm sorry, yes, it's okay. It's right here. Thank you. I would like now to share how the enjoyment of parental leave has evolved in Portugal. In gray, we have the graph of the evolution of the sharing of parental leave between mothers and fathers. And as you can see, between 2009 and 2021, the number of fathers who shared parental leave with their mothers quadrupled. However, it does not even correspond to half of all parents. The darkest green column corresponds to the percentage of fathers who have received the allowance for compulsory parental leave for the exclusive use of the father, and the lighter green corresponds to the percentage of fathers who have taken the optional leave. With the transposition of the work-life balance, this is the status quo in Portugal. In addition to the possibility of sharing the leave with the mother, the father is entitled to 28 consecutive and interpolated days of compulsory enjoyment, plus 7 optional days. The initial parental leave lasts for the 120 days paid at 100%, or 150 days also paid at 100%, provided that there is sharing of at least 30 days. Then we have the Article 6. The caregiver worker is entitled to an annual leave for working days, which must be taken consecutively. This is a new article. And now we have the new Article 7 that shows the worker has the right to be absent from work up to 50 days a year to provide an unstoppable and indispensable assistance for the person cared for. This period are added 50 days per year for the provision of yes.
I'm sorry, we are 1 minute or maximum 2 minutes.
Okay, I will end my just show you some things we are doing in Portugal. I would like, let me see.
You will have additional 5 minutes after, so
No,
you don't have to
no,
run now.
No, I understand, Madalena, but I have to leave. I was talking about it because we are in a series.
Okay, so take some minutes more.
Okay,
Yes, I would like to. Can you go ahead with
slides? Yes, of course. This
yes,
one,
please.
Article 12, and this one.
Yes, yes. No, next.
More.
Sorry. Yes.
This one and next.
No, not another. Sorry.
Okay, next.
Yes, I would like to share this because this is important. We have a higher evolution of complaints that we send to the labor inspectorate because of the non-renewals of the fixed term contract of pregnant workers. and the violation of the rights for the parental leave. And next, please. In Portugal, we have also public campaigns to inform about work-life balance and parenthood. Next, please. About the role of men in gender equality campaigns. We have this book, is the White Book for Men and Gender Equality in Portugal. Next. And also we have developed the project Parents at Work, was developed by a consortium of 4 equality mechanisms, the Institutes of Equality Between Men and Men in Belgium, also Slovenia and Bulgaria, and finally SIT. This project developed a strategy for the involvement of employers in reconciling work, personal and family life through mutual learning between equality bodies. Next, please. In addition of these measures, we also have working on other areas with a direct impact on the, sorry, there's an error here. And we are combating gender stereotypes in professional and vocational choices, and reinforcing our measures to the work-life balance, especially in terms of sharing of parental leaves between mothers and fathers. This is a issues that we are enforced because we think it's very important to have more equality at the labor market. Next, please. I think I will finish now. Yes, it's all. I will stay here for a while. If you have some questions, I can answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carla. Thanks. Sorry, I didn't get the time you have to leave. Sorry. So I try to come back to Gerard. Did you fix it? No, I can't hear you. Can you?
I can't hear him as well.
Oh,
I'm
very sorry.
I'm very sorry too.
Wait a minute.
I don't know how we can help him, or
I think maybe if he could connect from a phone, maybe.
yes, that could be also. Oh, he's trying. Okay.
He's trying. Okay. So I'm gonna move forward, and then I will come back to
indeed.
Gerard
Let's
again.
give another chance to him.
The solution of getting out off and then back again.
Yeah, sometimes it works. So now we'll introduce Anne Bergljot-Børug. She's a researcher at the Norwegian Institute of Public Health. She has for many years been involved in national discussions on how society can enable women to combine reproductive and productive work, and how to increase fathers' involvement in parenting. So thank you very much, Anne, for being here, and we look forward to hear the situation about Norway. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I have a presentation I sent to you yesterday, so if you could please help me.
Yes, give me 10 seconds. I'm experiencing some technical problems, but in the meantime,
technology is not assisting us today.
Well, first I can say thank you for inviting me to share experiences from Norway. And according to what Anina showed, you have seen that we are quite privileged when it comes to the length of parental leave.
Can I ask you a question while we're waiting?
Yes, of course.
I see that parental leave is paid by the paternity leave is paid by employers, not by the state, or is it just by the state via employers?
Yeah. The first 2 weeks after birth is. I can have the next slide, please. I can say the parental leave in Norway is paid by the state. And parents have the right to 49 weeks leave with 100% payment. Well, it's a ceiling. If you have very large, high salaries, there is a limit, but that's the principle. And that includes the 4 weeks to women before delivery. So parents have 46 weeks after birth. But then in addition, the father have the right for 2 weeks care leave, not parental leave, but care leave to support the mother just around delivery. And that is not necessarily paid by the state. If the employer doesn't pay it, you can take it from the parental leave and it's subtracted. Next, please. So the 46 weeks are divided so that there is a quota for fathers of 15 weeks, similar to the mother, and then 16 weeks can be shared as the family wants. Next, please. So we in Norway, we had a paternal quota from 1993. That was only 4 weeks. But then in around 2010, we had a white paper about gender equality and equal pay. And one of the observations was that after mothers had a child, it was analyzed as a barrier to salary improvement and career improvement. So it was decided that one should have a longer quota for the father. And also you can, that was one of the arguments, and also to try to have more equal sharing of childcare in the long term, and also to support father and child attachment and bonding. Next, please. So how is this parental leave used and shared between the mother and father? According to the Norwegian Labour and Welfare Administration, you can see on the left side, mothers are in blue and fathers are in red, and the light blue is a shared period. But what actually happens is that the fathers take the quota of 15 weeks, the mothers take their quota plus the shared part. That is the general picture. Next, please. So I personally, I think it's very important to have a father's quota. And also mothers and fathers are in general very positive to this paternal quota. The question is the duration of the paternal quota. But most fathers, as I showed you previously, take the exact quota, and therefore fathers spend more time with their babies. But the question and the general tendency is that fathers take more part in also future care work and household work, but we don't have very good documentation and research on that. But as I mentioned, one of the reasons for limiting mother's quota was to try to improve the conditions in working life. But studies show that the extension of the paternal quota did not improve mothers' salaries and careers, according to the Institute for Social Research. Next, please. What actually happened was that mothers, an increasing trend of mothers taking unpaid leave. And that implies losing earnings, losing seniority, using employment rights, such as sick leave, and also a potential career risk. And it was mainly mothers in industries and in typical female jobs that took more unpaid leave. 16 weeks in addition, they take on average unpaid leave. So that is really something to be aware of. And one of the main reasons why they took unpaid leave was that they wanted to breastfeed, and combining going out early to work and breastfeed was difficult for them. Next, please. So just a few words. Breastfeeding is a 24/7 job. I think we shall not consider it as something that you do only in your private life. It's something that contributes to a job, that contributes to good health of the population. It contributes to food security, and it reduces climate footprints. But it is a job that takes time. Next, please. So consequences for babies of a shorter maternal leave is very immediate. It's earlier introduction rates for infant formula. It's premature exclusive breastfeeding, less breast milk because mothers don't have the possibility to breastfeed as often as is necessary to keep up the production. Yes, next please. So I think it is very important when we are discussing work-life balance that the paternal quota, which I think is very important, but the duration of it has to be balanced against mothers' needs for breastfeeding their babies. So yes, I think WHO states that women should have the possibility for at least 6 months of leave for exclusive breastfeeding, and that is, I see that is also mentioned in the Work Balance Directive as an important thing. So next, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne, for these interesting insights. Thanks. And also for showing us the dark side of some policies. Gerhard, how is it going? Not good, I would say.
Maybe we can try to connect you through a phone. No, did you try to connect on it?
Yeah,
not connect.
it's showing,
is it connecting?
With the phone,
yeah,
nobody's not.
But it doesn't pop up in the system right now also, and we're thinking how to help Gerard, but
could he phone to someone of us?
Yeah.
We can leave the audio open and
Yes,
extend
Call
the
here, I could call him.
Yeah, that could be a possibility.
I moved to, in the meantime, to Carolina Andrian. Thank you very much for being here. We can hear you, thanks. Carolina is founder and president of the Shared Care Foundation in Poland. She is an expert in the field of work-life balance, both at the level of organizational and systemic, related to the implementation of the EU Work-Life Balance Directive in Poland. Thank you very much for being with us. I leave you the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I just want to share the, maybe I will share my screen. Can you hear, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, perfectly.
If you make it full.
Okay, right? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so just, I have 5 minutes, right? Okay, so
yes.
Just briefly, I will go to introduce our foundation. Just a second, I need to move this. Okay. So we are promoting a partnership model between men and women, and we reckon that the first steps toward partnership is sharing parental leave. We have three levers of our activities. Public affairs, we are working on implementing of work-life balance directive according to our recommendation. I will talk about the implementation of work-life balance directive in Poland just in a minute. We work with employers to promote the organizational culture that build partnership. And also we run social campaigns and education with parents on sharing parental leave and all the benefits regarding this model. So work-life balance directive was implemented in Poland in April. So it was quite later than it should be, but the government included all parents that could miss the benefits of work-life balance directive into this implementation. So all parents that were eligible for the change before the implementation was included. The first big change was implementing the individual right to parental leave for parents, especially for fathers. This is important because before fathers were eligible for the parental leave only when mother was eligible. Right now, this is individual rights, so this is very important. And of course, there was implementation of 9 weeks of non-transferable parental leave for each parent. And I prepared the graphs for you to make it easier to understand our situation in Poland. So after the birth, the child is born, mothers get 20 weeks of maternity leave. It's paid 100% and 14 weeks is obligatory for mother. Fathers get 2 weeks of paternity leave, and they can use this during up to 1 year of the child. But of course, the function of this leave is to take care not only for a baby, but especially to take care of the mother. This is similar to care leave in Norway, but it's called paternity leave in Poland, and it's paid 100%. Then you have 41 weeks of parental leave paid, question mark, it shouldn't be question mark, it was supposed to be slash. It's paid 70% for the parental leave, and you can take parental leave up to 6 years after the birth of the child. And what happens next? Each parent has 9 weeks of non-transferable part. So mothers have 9 weeks and fathers have 9 weeks. And then you have 23 weeks of shared parental leave. Mothers can apply for the average reimbursement at the level of 81.5%. So they can apply for the reimbursement for 20 weeks of maternity leave and their part of non-transferable part of parental leave and shared leave, and receive the average reimbursement at the level of 81.5%. So what are the challenges that we see? First challenge is that parental leave can be taken in 5 parts. So what happens? It's the same like in Norway. Mothers apply for the part of non-transferable part for her and 23 weeks of shared parental leaves. So it makes 1 part. And fathers, what they can do, they share this 9 weeks into 4 parts, for example, or 3 parts. So they don't take 9 weeks all together, but they share it, for example, during the holidays, as they have 6 years to use this parental leave. So this is the first challenge. The second challenge is parallel uptake. So what happens? Mothers takes 9 weeks of non-transferable part for mom and 23 weeks of shared leave. And what takes fathers? Fathers shared this 9 weeks and take during during, for example, maternity leave or parental leave. So they take parental leave when mother is at home. The second challenge is reimbursement. It's 70%. It's not 60%. It used to be 60%. Right now it's 70% for 9 weeks. And our goal is to increase this 70% to 100% for 9 weeks for a mother and for a father. The uptake of paternity and parental leave before the Work-Life Balance Directive looked in Poland like this. Blue line is paternity leave, and the orange line is parental leave for fathers. So it was till this year, it was about 1% fathers taking parental leave. Right now, you can see the data from this year. In May, there was, in April, the Work-Life Balance Directive was implemented in Poland, and you can see that each month, the number of fathers applying for parental leave is increasing. So we are accepting at the end of this year to reach 10% of fathers applying for parental leave. So goals for 2024, I already will share with you and beyond. Increasing the reimbursement to 100% for 9 weeks of non-transferable part for mom and for dad. Implementing financial gratification for 50-50 share of parental leave. So we want to implement some bonus for the couples that share 50-50 the parental leave. Another is implementing the obligation to use non-transferable part in one part. So you cannot split it into, for example, 2 weeks parts. You need to take it in one part. This is a little bit harsh, but forbidding parental uptake, parallel parental uptake, and abolition of application for the average reimbursement for mothers, because this kind of policy directs women to take 1 year of maternity leave and their part of parental leave, and leaves fathers with only 9 weeks of non-transferable part. So this is our aims, that we started to work with new government. As you know, we have a new government, and we hope that we'll be able to proceed with these goals in the future. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carolina, for this interesting presentation, and also for pointing out the importance of also use parental leave on your own, not necessarily contemporary with mothers and fathers. Gerardo, are you with us?
So in the meantime, you were trying to help him.
Yes.
Gerardo, I think
No, we can't hear you.
he's already using the phone, but also you can't hear him from the phone either.
No.
Check the chat, I'm saying.
Gerardo, my colleague Teresa wrote you and tried to reach you through chat. I think she was suggesting something.
He will give us his phone number.
Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe he can just call us by phone.
Yes, one solution is that if you can give your phone number to us, we can try to get you on the phone, and then we can use
I think this can be a solution.
Yes, I think so too. If it's okay, just write your number to us, and we will hear your voice, and we will try to give. I mean, we're finding solutions around the technology. So, in the meantime, yes, go ahead, Magdalena.
No, yeah. In the meantime, I wanted to stress the importance now reflecting upon the different measures we have in Europe, and also the strengths and the challenges that they pose, and so the importance also to keep in mind gender equality, but at the same time, children rights, and also, in my view, the importance on one side to protect, let's say, the rights of mothers in a perspective of the promotion of gender equality inside the household and outside, and also the importance of fathers to be carers and to be autonomous carers, because this is a very important, I mean, at least in my experience of research about these topics, the experience of being alone on leave for fathers is very enriching from many points of view. And so thank you, Carolina, to stress this point. And we also saw some data about the uptake, so maybe we can skip the second round. And I think it's very interesting that in all the countries and also in the most advanced countries like Norway, we end up with the fathers taking the compulsory, or at least the non-transferable part, but they do not take the optional one. And well, in Italy, as Annina mentioned, is even worse, because fathers do not even take the compulsory one. So, but we will see, Tindara, as Tindara said, what's going to happen in the next months with this new law that impose an administrative penalty, and also the impossibility to have access to the gender equality certificate for firms. So we will see if it will be, I mean, encouraging for fathers to take at least the 10 compulsory days.
Do we have Gerardo?
Thank you, Magdalena, for overview. I want to check with Gerardo. Gerardo, I emailed you. If you share your phone number with us, we can try to call you. Can you hear us?
Otherwise, we can, I don't know.
I don't know
if we can have the break now.
The number,
and then
the number is there. Have you seen the number? It's in the chat. 0034 6470158447. It's in the chat. Oh, it's to me, sorry. So 0034.
You can copy it. Maybe you can just copy and paste to us.
Okay, I'll copy and paste it. Okay.
Let's not share the number.
Well, can I just, while we are trying to get Gerardo with us, I would like to say that unfortunately after the break, I have to go for a lecture. So can I just say 1 minute, because I think I told too much in the first round. Can I just say things while Gerardo is trying to connecting? Well, I would like to say that I really agree with what Maddalena Canito was saying, that there is also a problem that we must really stress in Italy about the figure that that I share with you and that you know. Basically, we have really that is something that I did just to show you the figures, but basically what we can see, if you can go and show the second one, basically you can see that the percentage of fathers taking the paternity leave is really, really very low. And even if it is almost tripled in terms of fathers who are taking the paternity leave from 2017 to the last available figure, we can go ahead. And then you can see that only 42% of fathers do not take the paternity leave. And this has to do with the fact that before it was just for fathers in the private firms, and where usually they do tend to have to ask for parental leave already in a lower percentage. And also we expected, as Maddalena was saying, that this is going to increase, but we definitely need to have more monitoring and better data, but also given the nature of the, as I was saying before, that is not really obligatory and there are sanctions, but basically fathers need to be informed about their right to ask for it. And well, I also show you some figures about the parental leaves, but that shows that the number of days that both mother and fathers are taking are really decreasing in time. That is also connected to the fact that the coverage, even if now it is for the first month increased, it is on average 30%. And so that means that it is also very low comparing to the earnings that in Italy are also on average very low. So that means that we have lots to do in terms of increasing the percentage of the earnings that is covered by the parental leave, but also again, there is a problem of getting better data in order to see actually how many fathers and mothers do take them in terms of considering the whole eligible one. So, but I don't know if meanwhile Gerardo can be heard. So that, in my opinion, is very important to leave in the floor. And I would like just to conclude to say that we definitely need to do much more in terms of the implementation of what is there, and also to improve the design of our parental and paternity leaves.
Indara, thank you so much for providing an overview while we are trying to help Gerardo. I think my colleague informed me that he's going to try something else.
Okay.
But what we can do, I have a suggestion. We can take 5-minute break.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
Yes.
Okay.
And sort out Gerardo. Okay.
Indeed.
Okay.
It's connecting to the audio.
Okay.
I see.
Yes.
Wow.
Gerardo.
Yeah. No.
Gerardo.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I wanted really to hear you about also your new type of leaves.
Thank you, Gerardo.
Thank you. So sorry that we had this, but finally we have you, Gerardo.
Thank you for your resilience.
Yes.
As we say nowadays.
Sorry
I
very
leave
much.
you the floor soon.
Okay.
So I suggest we immediately hear you, Gerardo, and then we will continue with the next phases. Let me share your presentation.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think it should be.
So, shall I speak now?
Yes, please.
Yes. Well, sorry very much because of all the problems. I had plenty of meetings, and this is the first experience this kind I have, but I will try to be quick and focus on the main message I want to transmit. Next page, please. As you have heard, Spain is among the countries with the longest well-paid paternity leave. It was introduced in 2019, not as a consequence of the directive, but in the struggling of the parties about designing and implementing gender equality policy. So it was developed explicitly as a measure to improve gender equality policy, and the main label used to publicize it was equal leave rights and non-transferable. So the main focus of the reform was to keep paternity leave in the same terms as maternity leave. As mentioned, 6 weeks compulsory well-paid leave at a 10% of the salary. and 10 optional leave weeks during the first year of the baby. That implied for fathers in a period of 3 years to increase leave duration from 5 weeks till 16 weeks. This is, in principle, a good intended measure, but this doesn't imply that it will be effective in the sense that, as we heard and we know from literature, to have rights doesn't imply that people can make use of this right and that they make use of them according to the policy objective. So the main question, well, one of the main research topics the team I coordinate is implementing is to analyze till which point fathers make use of leave policy and what effect these policies have on family dynamics and particularly on involvement of fathers in childcare. So please, the next slide. What I will present is then data that want to answer the questions how fathers use paternity leave, and mainly this is the question. For this, I will use administrative data from the Social Security in 2 ways. One from an annual yearbook that is published by the Ministry of Social Security, and another one is an analysis of 2.5 million of records from the Social Security to which I have access thanks to the to the policy of the Social Security. And another source I will use is a survey we have made in 2021 to parents of children less than 6 years. It is the survey Quidam. So please, the next slide. Here you find a graph where the take-up rate of maternity in red and paternity leave in blue is shown. From the beginning, as the paternity leave was introduced in 2007 with 2 weeks of full paid leave, it was quite successful in the sense that half of the fathers of children took this kind of leave, and it stopped during the crisis of 2008 till 2014. And after 2014, as employment, who affected mostly men and young men, the take-up rate again increased in use, and the reform in 2019 didn't stop this process. There is an outlier in the year of 2019 when the reform was implemented in the first year of the transition. But I think this is mostly due to the way of recording data. What it shows is that there is a growing acceptance of this leave. Well, the data record the proportion of fathers who make use of it. The problem is that it is a Social Security provision, so it is linked to previous payment of Social Security fees, and the measure, the appropriate measure is not to count the number of leaves in relation to birth leave, as was in the graph before, but in relation to those that are entitled to it. and that means those who have paid social security fees, who are working at least a few months before the birth. And if we look at this data through the survey I mentioned before, we can see that that the proportion of eligible fathers who make use of the leave is as high as those of the mother. The leave, the reform didn't reduce it, but as shown in the graph before, it increased. So most eligible fathers, 95% of them, make use of some time of the paternity leave. The question is, do they take all the time to which they have right to? Next slide, please. As there is a period which is compulsory, those fathers who have registered to get access to the leave, that means those which are in the formal economy and claim the leave, nearly all, 99.9%, may make use at least for the compulsory period. Another question, if, as is the case, unemployed parents don't make use of the leave, don't apply for having the leave because it is not worthwhile for them. That would be the 1/4 proportions of those parents who don't make the leave. But those who have claimed for the leave, 99.9% have use at least the 6 weeks of the leave. What happens with the optional 10 weeks period? Well, analyzing the data of the Social Security, we see that the percentage of fathers who haven't used all these 10 additional weeks varies quietly from 1 year to the other. And this is conditioned, I guess, mostly by the exceptional situation of the COVID. That change the strategies of parents. Now, actually, I am analyzing data for 2022 and 2023, but I am not at a point to present this kind of data. What we see is that about 1/10 and nearly half of the fathers don't use these 10 additional weeks. This means that they don't take all these 10 weeks. Well, calculating the mean number of days they took and the variance around the mean, we can see that the mean number of they use is 76%. That means, depending on the year, more or less years, because it is, as I mentioned, an increase in different steps. Nowadays, and I have this data for 2023. It is also at 76%, and it is 86 days of day. At the end, that means that the take-up rate in Spain is similar to the take-up rate in other Scandinavian countries. The mean number of days fathers use is not the whole amount to which they have right. It is about 90 days as in Iceland, and more or less like in Norway. A second question related with the topic which was raised by the previous presentation is when this optional period is taken. If it's taken just a few days.
Allora, I have to ask you to be...
To finish.
Yeah, thank you. Just 1
Okay.
minute.
I know. Well, the question is, the possibility to break up is for fathers to take the leave when the mother goes back to work after the end of maternity leave, or not. So data that we have from the several sources I mentioned is that only about 1/3 of the fathers take it after the mother has returned to the workplace. It is so the fathers who use it mostly to care alone at home when the mother goes back to work is only a minority solution. And it is something that should be fostered because as we have shown members of the Leaf Network in a book, and it was mentioned by the Polish colleague, this is the real change and measure which foster a much higher involvement of fathers in care work. Thank you very much. I'm sorry again for all the troubles.
Thank you to you. So, Aicha, what shall we do? Do we leave at least 5 minutes for questions?
Can I?
Because we are terribly late.
Terribly late. The thing is that the issue that Anne raised is a very big one. I wonder, Aicha, if you could show that table which I just sent you. Because the issue is that the differences in availability of maternity leave across Europe are very big. Here we are. Maybe you could just show the maternity leave bit, you see? So the requirement, the minimum requirement standard required by the EU is 14 weeks. The recommendation from WHO is for 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding. So mothers at least need to be able to have the choice to do that if they wish. Interestingly, Italy has the most generous maternity leave in Europe, which brings up the EU average. So we have this situation of huge imbalance between what mothers get, which is 5 months, and what fathers get, 10 days. So for us, you know, the issue is definitely we need to increase paternity leave. But I think that whatever proposals are made in terms of improving paternity leave, we need to look at what's happening for mothers, because in most cases, even if they're not, even if there isn't mandatory leave, mothers do all they can to extend at least to 5 or 6 months. And this is a fact, but we must always take this aspect into consideration. Also, if we're thinking about, you know, the health and well-being of the child as well, and I think this is very important.
Thank you so much, Janina. We overcame all the problems, but now I suggest it's 11:43. I suggest to take a really short 4-minute, maximum 5-minute break. And then when we are back from the break, we can talk about how we're going to technically do the breakout rooms, and you can go over the content and what are the discussion points really quickly. And then my colleague will help to distribute us into groups. I suggest we cut the time a little bit in the breakout rooms to discuss to 25 minutes. so that we can be back on time to share in the main plenary session. And I hope that there we will have a bit more time to discuss if there are any remaining questions or things to be discussed that were brought up from the breakout sessions. And I think in this sense, this would be a new solution. How does it sound? Okay, shall we be back in 11:49? Yes, see you in 5 minutes. Hello. Welcome back. I hope everybody could refreshen up a little bit.
Hello, Aisha. Aisha, can you end your, thanks.
I didn't realize, sorry. So now what we will do is I will explain how we will do the breakout rooms and the discussions. And Anina will help us go through the discussion points. We try to give, we try to make a nice mixture of discussion points, but we will also have time to discuss all together at the end when we are back to the plenary all together. So, Anina, are you back?
So I need to present the questions. Is that right?
Yes, I am now helping you out. Maybe you can say a few words about the
organization. Okay. I understand.
Questions.
Okay, about the questions. Fine.
A
Okay.
little bit, yeah. In the meantime, then we will do some technical.
Okay, so we have a first group which looks at which are the factors that affect uptake by fathers. Some very specific issues that are related to the workplace, the attitudes of employers and so on, will be discussed in group 3. So, no, please go back to
sorry.
Yes. So the question is, why are they not taking all the leave they're entitled to? To what extent is uptake of leave affected by what women do, the time they want to spend at home, and also the lack of childcare services? And how do gender stereotypes actually come into seeing another screen? What's happened?
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Okay. So how do gender stereotypes related to care and masculinity affect uptake? For all groups, we want to ask in your countries, how is uptake of fathers actually monitored? Gerardo made us see that in Spain, there's quite good data, which we don't have, for example, in Italy. Room number 2. Okay. Is about workplace-related factors that affect leave. So, sorry, Maddalena, this is group 2, not group 3. What we found also doing surveys is that fathers often say that there's resistance from employers for them to take leave. So sometimes this is real, sometimes it's their perception, and which is one of the reasons why they don't take all the leave they're entitled to. So the issue is, what could be the incentives for employers to be more open in terms of encouraging fathers to take leave? And are there certain conditions that need to exist in the workplace that can facilitate it, uptake by fathers, like flexibility in working hours, an organization of work that's not rigid, attitudes? And paternity leave is often, after birth, is often related as mandatory, obligatory. So how can this actually be enforced and monitored on the workplace? Number 3. Now, this is about the timing of leave. So whereas bunching it at the beginning, after birth, spreading it out later, we're still talking about paternity leave or leave that's taken by fathers. So since the objective is that care and domestic work should be equally shared, which doesn't mean that women and men do the same things, because they do different things at different times. What have we actually learned about what is the best distribution of timing of the leave that fathers take around birth and then more later? How much around birth? Is it better for parents to share, to take leave at the same time or not? In what ways? Are there periods in which it's a good thing for them to be together, whereas in other periods it's best for them to alternate, because this also facilitates women's employment? And what do we mean by mandatory? And here there's the issue of the equal leave, which is sometimes indicated as an objective. But then we need to take into account that maternity leave is still in Europe, in most countries, below the recommended 6 months recommended by WHO, and even the 16 weeks recommended by the EU. So we need to think of those two rights together. Aicha, can you tell us, we were going to be more people. Some people dropped out at the last minute. So the groups are quite small.
Yes, we have groups of 4 or 5, but...
can you show who's in which group?
Yes, we can actually go over and getting some help. So in the first room, we'll be together with Francesca, me, Giorgio, and Anna. And room 2, Attila, so Eleonora, Carolina, and Magdalena. And group 3, Anina, Noemi, Robert, and Sara. So we were thinking to have, we initially planned to have 40 minutes, but now we have to improvise a little bit to have 30 minutes. So we can aim to be back about 12:25. And now my colleague is dividing us into groups. I would like to inform you, we can just discuss around these topics, and in each group you will have a note taker. We will try to collect all of those, and then when we're back in the plenary session, we will provide a summary from each group, and then we will discuss together. Is that okay? Anina, is there anything you want to add when we were dividing into groups?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
No,
so we will be
that's
back.
fine. I think since we're not very many,
Yes.
I mean, if some of you have a burning question that relates to other groups as well, I think this, that it's possible to bring it up. So at least it's recorded. Okay.
Yes. Indeed. We can. You mean now we can discuss, or at the plenary?
No, during the breakout groups, if there's
okay.
well,
if there's anything.
We also have the plenary. If there's something that's really sort of burning, let's take note of that and then discuss in the plenary.
Okay. So I think we are ready to go into rooms. Okay. Yes. Can you please send us to rooms?
Well, we haven't finished, but
neither have we. In fact, I was going to ask Sara if she could just say a few words about, because in actual fact it was we were just 4 people, and our colleague from Sweden had to leave. So I wonder, Sara, if you could say a few words about what we discussed and what Robert said. Okay, but let's see how we get organized now.
Okay, I try to tell something. We have a very interesting discussion with our Swedish colleague, and we had the possibility to reflect about the importance of have a mandatory measure to involve and to force, maybe it's a strong term, but to involve fathers in the use of leave. But we have also the possibility to reflect about a very important problem in Italy that is a problem of culture. So we have a first problem that is a problem of communication. So different fathers, for example, don't use leave because they don't know about the existence of paternity leave. And in this problem, company has a negative impact because don't communicate the existence of this measure for reason that see this measure as against the productivity of company. But also we have a problem of culture that is a problem inside family, but also inside company. So the idea of the culture of care that sees the care as only duty for women. Okay, and we starting reflecting about this a risk in this reflection to confuse the idea of equality with the idea of neutrality. So it's very, very important, this issue of freedom of choice. And also it's important to recognize that from the psychological point of view, the care of men and the care of women are two different kind of care. We don't say that one is better than another, but the characteristic from the psychological point of view are different. As for the work dimension, the type of involvement in work for women is different from the type of involvement for men. So in this recognition of differences, it's very, very important that there is an opportunity to allow people to choose the organization and to have all conditions for this freedom of choices, and also reflect about the differences in younger cohorts. So for a younger generation, this issue of care is fortunately considered in more equally. And to improve this level of shared, maybe could be useful to introduce to work on programs at school to facilitate this cultural change. But we recognize some greater obstacles that comes not from the law. We don't have so bad law in Italy, but there is a negative impact from the cultural point inside companies. So it's very, very important in this complex reflection that all different actors involved in work and family reconciliation do all that is possible. So it's very, very important to have a good law, but it's very, very important that there could be a cultural change inside a family and also inside the companies to allow the use of this measure that is foreseen by the law.
Thank you, Sarah. Anina, I
Can
think
I add something to thank you, Sarah, because Robert had to leave. He told us some interesting stuff about Sweden in the sense that, yes, fathers take the 10 days after birth, but after that, they tend to spread those the remaining part of those 90 days over a period of 12 years. And they take it for emergencies, for holidays, and so on. So what he was saying is they were recognizing it is very important for this leave to be taken in the first years And he said that now, because in Sweden, there are a lot of cases of gang violence with adolescents and so on, there's an increasing interest in the issue of increased fathers' engagement in the first 1,000 years, because of all the evidence from research that we have about how early engagement of fathers actually reduces problems also during adolescence. And he thinks that actually it's important to make it mandatory. So he was in favor of making it mandatory to take a larger part of that paternity leave within the first 1,000 days.
Thank you so much, Anina. Can I jump in and also say welcome to Ana Escobedo, because I think we were, hi. Just to give an overview, we were discussing several different discussion topics in breakout rooms, and now we're all together in the main plenary session to discuss all together. And Anina and Sarah just provided some summaries about their discussion, what they discussed in the breakout room. Anina, do you have anything to add, or I suggest
No, that's fine. Move to the next group.
Okay,
yes.
I think I can show you and provide main points. Thank you, Francesca. She helped taking the notes, and I can provide an overview. And please, Giorgio and Anna, please add and jump in if needed. Can you see? Yes, I think you can, but I'm not sure how big it is. Yeah. So in our group, our questions were around factors affecting uptake by fathers. I believe in different breakout rooms, there must have been discussions when I'm hearing from you as well in your group, Anina, that there were some similarities indeed. So our questions were, why are family fathers often not taking all the leave they're entitled to, even well paid? And to what extent uptake of leave affected by women spending time at home and by the presence or lack of childcare services or other supports, and how do gender stereotypes related to care and masculinity affect uptake? Mainly, we discussed about, Anna provided her opinion on it's important to have a quota, compulsory paternity leave in line with Robert, I suppose. And if voluntary fathers might not take it, so that has been the experience. And we highlighted that employers' perceptions might be a barrier to taking paternity leave. Some fathers might not be knowledgeable about it, and then there's the employers should be promoting and encouraging. And it is important to have prominent people as inspiring examples of fathers taking the leave. For example, there was an example of politicians taking the leave, even within the seriousness of their job and having a good example. Giorgio commented, if I'm not mistaken, that the demand from, yes, if we see it from a market analysis perspective, the demand from mothers is higher than that of fathers, and changing the market demand is key and should be balanced with the mother's rights. He was coming from the perspective it's a mother's rights, and also such as breastfeeding, and it's also a child's right, but also important to keep an eye on the right to work as well. So the balancing is very important, and I think this can be linked to the differences between what we understand, what mothers care and what fathers care. And also there was another issue apart from the questions, how do fathers use the time they have? Actually, we were talking about we need to identify indicators to assess the use of time by fathers when they take the leave and combined with the outcomes of the child, because we're not sure that they're using the time efficiently, or the time is spent in a quality way at home and interactions with the child. So this should be in our radar when we're discussing this. And it's also about the cultural issue. Building awareness about the benefits of the paternity leave is crucial. But we see positive trends also in different countries, that the trend of participation of fathers, especially in the first visits, in the health visits or during delivery, it's important that they attend the delivery or go to the ultrasound checks. These are actually some indicators that the fathers participation engagement is increasing. There was a debate in Italy saying that there's a social divide in father's role. For example, there was the first initial idea was the people with higher education seem to be more aware of the benefits and enjoyment, and they know their rights as a father. But also there's more evidence coming from different sources that it's not the case. So there's also a positive trend. Anna was talking about how measures should consider the biological needs of mothers and children, for example, about breastfeeding, and this should be recognized as a basis when balancing the rights. She was mentioning that it's not about the stereotype, it is the reality, the biological reality that mothers are breastfeeding, that has many, many benefits if the mothers are taking the time that is needed for this. And there are some outcomes on maternal health and child health as well. So we should be very careful not to really cross this barrier and make harm to mothers' leave. And as again, employers should provide much more flexibility in time leave and solutions, and we need to move forward toward a more family-friendly society. And yes, we didn't have too much time to discuss about the bonus question, and also we can still discuss, if you like, to what extent the availability of services or lack of services or other support mechanisms are affecting fathers to take the leave. Yes, I would like to give the floor to Giorgio, Francesco, or Anna if they want to add something, or anybody who wants to react before we move on to the other group. I think it's clear. I can't hear Giorgio. Can you turn it on?
No, I think it was a great summary. Thank you. And that's okay. I mean,
okay. Then I would suggest let's hear the other group, and then we can go on if we have other burning issues to discuss.
Leonora say hi to everybody, but she had to leave. Carolina or Attila, do you want to try to summarize our discussion? Maybe I can project the Word file.
Yeah, I can, but you need to share the screen with our Word. So I'm sorry, Magdalena, maybe you can go it because I cannot move. So maybe you can go through this. It will be easier and faster because we don't have so much time if I, ask you to move down or up. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Shall I?
Yeah.
Should I?
Yeah. Sorry,
okay,
I was muted. Okay. Go ahead.
So me, right? You want me to summarize? Okay. So first question was regarding perceived by fathers resistance from the employers. Any reasons for that? So we had some issues regarding masculinity model, being a good worker versus being a good a man versus being a careful father. Also, there are some issues regarding gender stereotypes regarding care and work, and the threats of being fired, threats of being missing out a promotion, bonuses, and etc. And also that we had the issue of long absence of women, especially in Poland. Women are taking a sick leave before the labor, and then they have a maternity leave and parental leave, which makes up very often to 1.5 years of absence. And for the employers, they very often argue that it is impossible to replace father for a short time. If the father takes 2 months or 3 months, there is a lot of difficulties with replacement. Could you, Magdalena, roll down a little bit? So the incentives for the employers to encourage fathers to take leave. So we had some arguments from Magdalena, arguments that can be used for employers. For example, reduction of turnover, well-being in the workplace, and some incentives like a certificate for some employers. There was also importance of education on education in a workplace. We had also an issue of ESG reporting. There is a section regarding work-life balance and all the indexes regarding the leaves. So that can be encouraging for employers to focus more on this section. Let me think. Okay, and also there is some arguments that can be used that encouraging fathers to take part of the care enhances women to come back to work earlier. So there is a source of workforce to be used for the employers, talented, educated workforce that can be used for staff shortages. Could you move down a little bit? Yes. So what conditions need to exist in the workplace to facilitate uptake? Organizational approach and culture that is inclusive and non-discriminatory. Solidarity among workers and fathers. Trained managements on work-life balance and gender equality. I also pointed that out. We talked also about communication to fathers regarding their rights, a communication that is directly directed to fathers, not to parents, but to fathers. Also, we talk about education of women, about benefits of sharing parental leave. And Attila also pointed out the access to flexible working arrangements. Okay, 4, paternity leave after. Okay, this we didn't have time to discuss it, but we put some notes, so I will go through these notes. Paternity leave after the birth often indicated as obligatory. How can it be enforced and monitored? So from Magdala, I need to read it because we didn't have time to discuss it. It may help to introduce panel sanctions similar to those the firms incur if they don't have grant to compulsory maternity leave. Attila, adequate pay in Poland is 100%, so it's adequate, but still not a lot of fathers are using this. And from my side, paternity leave should be the only one leave that is permitted to be used parallelly with mother. We should also educate women about benefits of fathers taking the paternity leave, because they are very often, they can encourage their partner to use paternity leave. And also I put there the necessity to include fathers in education in a birth school at the hospital, that happens at the hospital, because very often it is directly only for mothers. So, and also we didn't have time to discuss the bonus question, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Attila had to leave.
Yes, some colleagues needed to leave. I just want to use the remaining time to focus on if we want to discuss something that is not discussed in the breakout rooms. Any other questions or any other reflections? And for example, the bonus question was about how is uptake by fathers monitored? Is there data? Who collects it or estimates? What we would like to know. And also in our group, I think we didn't have too much time to discuss about that can be very informative for us to discuss that to what extent the uptake of leave is affected by the availability of services. So if you have any reactions, reflections, maybe we can take 5 more and discuss the remaining issues before giving the floor to Giorgio to talk about conclusions and next steps.
So in your oh my goodness me, sorry.
It's okay.
So, in your respective countries, is data on uptake of leave by fathers regularly monitored or not?
Maybe I will tell about Poland. Also, we have a problem with the data regarding fathers. It is monitored, but it's not adequate. And also, I'm sorry, I just need to...
You're frozen up.
Yeah. I'm frozen?
Can
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, yes.
Okay. So also we have a problem with the data, but we are working directly with the institution that is collecting this data. And next week we have a meeting. We managed to encourage them to be more engaged with the fathers. Of course, this is also because of the government change in Poland. So we will be working on it to be more precise on collecting the data regarding father, because before it was mostly concentrated on mothers. So there is a lot of gaps in a data. And before we had only 1%, so nobody was really, interested in digging in this data, but right now it's gonna be 10%. I hope it's gonna, the trend is increasing. So this shows the need to be more concentrated on the quality of the data that we are gathering. For example, what is the average length of the parental leave? What is the average, who is taking this parental leave, for example, and what for? Because we already know that some of the fathers are taking parental leave, for example, to earn extra money. So they are not really concentrating on the care, but they are taking this to, for example, to take some extra projects. And so you probably know the case. I see that you are noting. So, but of course, the institution cannot ask about it, but we are working with them to work on the quality of the data that they are gathering. So that's our experience.
Thank you so much, Karina. Giorgio, do you have an immediate reflection? Because I see Anna's hand up. Giorgio, you wanna?
No, I didn't get my hand up. It was Anna.
Yes. No, I thought you wanted to say something. Okay, Anna.
No, I will.
Okay, no worries. I see Anna. Yes, please, Anna.
Thank you for the invitation. I think that Gerardo Meile already contributed this morning, so I will not repeat. I am rather critical to the Spanish system. However, listening to maybe because some of the issues that Sara Mazzucchelli mentioned in her group, because I think the Spanish system has evolved towards neutrality, which I am rather critical about, and because I really think that fathers and mothers have different contributions to child well-being, which should be situated in different parts of the time. And because in Spain, I think it's important to keep with the differentiation with maternity leave, paternity leave, and parental leave. And the Spanish case, there is a trend towards equality at birth, which I think is a very difficult and controversial issue. However, and I think that probably Gerardo has focused on that, listening to you, I realize that something where the Spanish reform has been very effective is in obtaining a very high rate and a very normative approach towards companies. That means that probably this will allow us to evolve, and I hope that we will evolve, but the obligation or the very simple, from my perspective, too much simple, but very simple messages have been as a good point that men and companies have very clearly assumed that they need to make this place for fathers taking leave. So even though I am critic to the Spanish system, I think that it has very good points from this other perspective. I would also contribute something complementary I have not heard about, is that sometimes I think that we, of course, we should look at the design of leave policies, and this is very important, but this is not a unique magical measure. And I would say that other complementary measures is how fathers are integrated in the health system before in these 1,000 days. I assume that you also use the 1,000 days approach, which I think is very relevant and interesting. So men and fathers should be integrated and protocols should be changed in health assistance, so to integrate much more the role of fatherhood. So health is symbolically very important, and many things can be done from health, putting or changing criteria in health policies and health services. Also have male reference in childcare or support groups. I think that support groups, while parents are before in pregnancy, and I think that both mother and father go to pregnancy preparation is important, but also support groups when being with the child. I think that having support groups also for men and fathers are relevant things. And having men in childcare services also to provide male reference on how fathers are contributing. I have not heard about that, and I think that these are complementary elements. This is what I thank you very much for giving me the possibility to contribute.
Thank you, Anna.
May I
And-
ask something about Spain? Because, for example, one of the Maria Pazos didn't join us today. She was supposed to be coming from the PINA campaign. She was very critical about, she says, you know, companies like in Spain, like mothers and fathers to take leave at the same time, because then one of the two is maybe available for smart working. What is your view about this, whether they share or they take the leave at the same time or not?
I think that I don't like as a mechanism, but I think that as we do have it, research should be performed. Which what happens when parents take it together and take it one after the other? I would say that the successful element of the Spanish is that they give fathers all the entitlements with very few requirements, because most of the fathers are using it together with the mother. That means that they can act with more benefits with having a secondary supportive role to the mother. And I think that the problem is that we are focusing around birth, so the father can have more role afterwards. What I am basically very critical is that in the last 30 years or 35 years, an additional week has been given to mothers. And that being these leaves are based on contributory requirements, nowadays there is much more investment in fathers than in mothers. So I would say that this is a gender neutrality which is not a good idea. However, as things are, they are. Meanwhile, I would say that effectively there is a contribution of fathers being together with the mother. And this is helping for fathers to change their minds and also for companies. I have been doing qualitative interviews, and even though my prejudice was this should not be, this is very bad, also listening to Gerardo Mel, I think that as a transitory measure, it is not true that nothing is happening. I think that while most of the fathers are together with the mother, they are changing and support and starting a route towards being developing their care competencies. But of course, more research should be done on that and to see how it evolves. And from another perspective, it's really unfair that that women don't take more time and are paid less being the primary carers. But this is another story.
Do we have any? Thank you, Anna, for this rewriting. It's very, very valuable. I'm wondering if you have any remaining reflections, anything to be discussed, and I'm checking the time. We have 5 minutes left.
So I think maybe Giorgio can start
Yes,
with his.
Yes, also
Yes,
because I have to
questions.
run and catch a train.
Okay,
in
please.
2 minutes.
Please.
So, well, first we are just a few remaining, but I still want to thank all of you for the contribution. I think it was a very important workshop and a piece of learning experience that we had today. Let me take this first point about the fact that most of the countries that we've heard about today are in fact in a learning experience because the legislation was very recent and still changing. So that means that we are really learning what is best, and we are learning what could be the, let's say, the side effects of some policies. And I think that it's very important that all countries, not only the ones that were represented today, should have the opportunity to learn from others and from the process that countries are going through with respect to this issue. Second point is the fact that we have to adopt a more clearer child perspective in all this, because if we remain within the equality argument, we may lose some of the aspects of that balancing mother's right with father's right is not just putting the same weight on both, because there are clearly some differences. And the main difference is very simply the fact that the demand is extremely different. Mothers would like, in their majority, to spend more time with their child. Fathers are not still in this perspective. So we have to take into account this and still pushing for a much greater father's engagement. It has been underlined that we need to have a compulsory postnatal period, which is much longer for many countries than what is actually currently possible, but still we have to consider the mother's perspective in, for example, with respect to breastfeeding, and the fact that mothers feel this contradiction between, for example, the willingness to spend more time with their child, and on the other side, if they are employed, the risk of losing opportunities, etc. So we have to look into that with more attention. It is quite obvious to me that much greater flexibility should be obtained in terms of not only the periods and the length of the leave, but also the possibility of working, the smart working, the part-time working. All solutions should be after what is considered compulsory. We should have a much greater flexibility, in my opinion. but most of you underline this, so that there is no, you know, just one solution fits all the families, because the families are different and the employment conditions are different and so on. We have to work with companies, and this is very important. From the initial work we did, it appears that at least the medium and big companies are rapidly changing their perspective on this issue and considering much more the not only the rights but the benefits for their employers who are new parents or parents to be. So that is very important also because companies can influence the governments. I mean, it's not just, I mean, it's a two-way. One thing which I consider very important is the content of leave time, particularly for fathers, because I mean, even if even when we obtain a good uptake, this is not granted that it is used properly. So I think we have to work on that. And we have to start trying to understand what is really happening within the period of paternal leave, whether these fathers use their time for real quality interaction with their child, a quality contribution to family life, etc. And I think we have to start working about indicators. This, in fact, could be the topic of a new seminar, because we still have a third technical seminar. So maybe we could focus on that content and how to improve it. And then a final consideration, according which I'm much in agreement with Anna's consideration about the importance of prenatal period, because the prenatal period is very important in building awareness and starting a sort of bonding of fathers with a child that still has to be born, you know. I mean, so the prenatal visit, the prenatal ultrasound, the period of birth with fathers fully participating to the birth, etc. All this is extremely important to build the awareness and the demand for a leave which is full of content, because that is important. Ultimately, what matters is not the leave itself, but the way the fathers behaves with the child and the mother. So we have to work on that. So thank you again. I think we will be happy to receive your ideas and suggestions for the third seminar. I just made a proposition, but of course we can decide all together on how to use our third opportunity that the project is giving to us. Because if I'm right, the fourth seminar is with policymakers. So it will be fully trying to sensitize policymakers in a very important period, because we are going towards European elections, and I think we are very interested that all parties, or almost all parties, are taking very seriously this issue, which is crucial for the future of Europe. I mean, it's clearly very, very, very crucial. Okay. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you
so much,
Nina, all those
yes,
that helped to have this successful meeting.